Well, it seems like the drama is never leaving the royalty castle. This time, King Charles was the one making headlines with a shocking confession he just made about the love of his life.
Your love and devotion to our family and to the family of nations you have served so diligently all these years. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
In a moment that no one expected, and Buckingham Palace probably wishes had never happened, King Charles III has made a surprising confession. To get ahead of you, it wasn't about the crown or his health. It's not even about Prince Harry. King Charles III made a confession of love, showing the public that they are just like us, emotional and sensitive. Of course, this speech left the whole world speechless for a moment and put raw, unfiltered, decades-long love under the microscope. Today, King Charles publicly said what he has never dared to say before. Even after all these years, even after marrying Queen Camilla, he's still haunted by the memory of the one woman he calls the true love of his life. For your record, it's not who you think. It might just change how the world views the British monarchy forever.
Together and individually, we are strengthened by sharing perspectives and experiences, and by offering and borrowing the myriad ways.
You must be wondering how this all started. Actually, it started like any other formal engagement. King Charles was attending a charity dinner hosted by one of his lifelong supporters. It had all the royal trademarks like elegant gowns, sterile speeches, and zero surprises. Until now. What came next was anything but typical. During a surprise Q&A session, hosted by none other than acclaimed British journalist Jonathan Dimbleby, the same man who once interviewed Charles back in the 90s when he confessed to being unfaithful to Princess Diana, Charles was asked a simple, seemingly innocent question. Your Majesty, what is your greatest regret? The room went silent, like the guest knew something major was about to happen. Then, for a moment, King Charles looked off into the distance just before throwing this huge bombshell.
Did you try to be faithful and honorable to your wife when you took on the vow of marriage?
Yes, absolutely.
Without a speech prepared, without palace-approved language, and without the usual royal restraint, Charles spoke. My greatest regret is not fighting harder for the woman I loved before the world told me I couldn't. A few guests laughed quietly, thinking he was being poetic or dramatic. But then he went on, explaining that he had been young but certain of his feelings. She was clever, independent, and completely outside the royal mold. Not from the right family, and not shaped by the establishment, but she made him feel understood and seen. However, he let her go. That, he admitted, still lives with him. The room fell silent, with piercing eyes towards King Charles, and Queen Camilla, who was sitting nearby, reportedly stared straight ahead with her face unreadable. So just like that, King Charles reopened a chapter the palace had tried for decades to erase out of existence. Everyone was blown away by this speech King Charles just dropped on the public. Now, the million-dollar question is, who exactly was he referring to? Was it Lady Dale Tryon, the Australian socialite he once called the only woman who ever understood me? Was it Davina Sheffield, his former girlfriend, who was famously rejected by palace advisors for having a previous relationship? Or was he talking about someone entirely unknown to the public? What the 76-year-old king said in seconds, royal aides may spend weeks trying to fix. One unnamed courtier told the Telegraph, "This is deeply uncharacteristic of the king. He has spent decades shaping a narrative, which goes against everything the firm has built." But here's the thing. This isn't the first time Charles has hinted at this ghost from his past.
It's really difficult because you've got to remember that when you marry, in my position, you're going to marry somebody who perhaps one day is going to become queen. And you've got to choose somebody very carefully, I think.
Let's go back in time for a bit. Back in the early 1970s, long before Diana and long before Camilla became a fixture in his life, Charles was reportedly in love with a woman the palace considered unsuitable. She wasn't titled or aristocratic. She certainly wasn't interested in being a royal puppet. Her name? The palace never confirmed. But letters found years later, kept hidden in private archives, revealed a nickname Charles once used: "My Wild Swan." In one letter dated 1973, Charles wrote, "I see her in my dreams more than I ever dared admit in waking life. I fear I'm being reshaped into something I never wanted to be." Now, 50 years later, he's finally acknowledging it, out loud for everyone to hear. The best part is that this shocking news made an echo through the entire world. This confession is especially shocking because for decades, Charles has tried to rebrand his marriage to Camilla as the love story that withstood time, scandal, and sacrifice. That there's a piece of Charles's heart that even Camilla could never touch. And that raises a tough, unavoidable question. Did Charles ever truly get over this mystery woman? A palace insider speaking to media just hours after the charity event said, "Her Majesty the Queen was deeply taken aback. This is not something they discussed beforehand. It was meant to be poetic, it missed the mark."
May thy servant Camilla...
Since the confession, social media has absolutely exploded. Some have come out in sympathy, calling it his most honest act yet, while others have slammed him for drawing focus away from Diana's memory and embarrassing Camilla. One tweet went viral saying, "You married 2 women, broke one's heart, made another queen, and still you miss the one we never met? What even is this royal soap opera?" Meanwhile, the tabloids are on fire, with British headlines screaming things like, "The King's ghost love, who is she?" and "Camilla humiliated?" Despite all the buzz, King Charles himself has stayed silent, leaving the public with no clarification or denial, leaving the space for the media to create its own narrative.
Honourable Senators, members of the House of Commons, it is with a deep sense of pride and pleasure that my wife and I join you here today as we witness Canadians coming together.
On the other hand, the timing couldn't be more interesting. Charles is still recovering from recent health issues, and according to some reports, he's been spending a lot more time reflecting on life, legacy, and the choices he's made. One royal biographer put it this way: "When you're staring down your own mortality, honesty starts to matter more than appearances." Maybe he just needed to say it once, out loud, before it was too late. Of course, not everyone thinks it was intentional. Some believe it was a slip, a raw moment of vulnerability that the palace is now desperately trying to spin. But there's another possibility. Maybe, for the first time in his reign, King Charles wasn't speaking as a monarch at all. The outlet media also sees him as just an aging man, still carrying the memory of the one person who made him feel truly seen. And maybe losing her is the one thing he never really got over.
Can we try and get her back again? Please, just get her back again.
Yes, sir.
We must go. I was trying to wait for her. Now she goes.
Let's get one thing straight. This wasn't just a moment of honesty. For decades, the monarchy fed us a carefully crafted image. The loyal husband, the noble king, the unshakable royal couple. But now that image is cracking and people are asking, is the love between Charles and Camilla real? Or has it all been royal PR? Then came another bombshell. A verified palace source said that the king kept a photo that had never been released and was hidden for years. It's not Camilla nor Diana, but a brunette in her 20s smiling at the sea. a ghost from the past in a silver frame. Whoever she was, she clearly never left his heart. So was this rare honesty or a royal betrayal? And who was the woman Charles never forgot? Drop your theories in the comments, hit like and subscribe. Because when it comes to the royals, the past always comes back, and this story is just heating up.